Hello and welcome. As you see, my bathroom is a complete mess. I have been recovering from surgery the last 4 weeks, and that means the house kind of got, neglected. My husband tried his best, and he really did do a really good job taking care of the kids and myself, along with all of our pets and working, and he had to handle all of the dinners and the dishes and the laundry and the school and all of the errands and so much more. So it is perfectly understandable and okay that everything kind of just needs me right now. And you know what? Hats off to my husband, because not very many husbands could handle everything that my husband was handling, not to mention handling it during a kitchen remodel, because I don't know if you caught it in my last video, but our house flooded in April, and we have been like in a construction zone in our kitchen. So our house has been like a complete, utter nightmare, really. And most of the remodel has been happening during my recovery. Anyways, I'm saying all of this to encourage you all to have a positive attitude and outlook when you have to pivot in life. It is completely normal to have a hard season. Just know that God has a bigger plan for you. Little did I know that in a very hard season from February till probably just a few short weeks ago, honestly, was going, actually, I'm going to say probably from before, like right around when Ellie was born, right after she was born. It's just been like hard season after hard season. But let's get back to from February. Back to that in particular harder season. I went back to work to Walmart because Jared got hurt at work, and he got put on light duty. And so his job, because it's very physical, he had to have somebody working with him, which meant that his job went by faster because he could still do quite a bit. So there was 2 people doing one person's job, which meant shorter days, which meant less pay, which meant I went back to work. And I also had to pay out of pocket for my surgery. So if you didn't catch it in my last video, I had my loose skin removed because I had lost over 100 pounds, the loose skin on my stomach removed, and a hernia and muscle repair. So, after 5 kids, extreme weight loss, it was needed and much appreciated. And we had already paid for a lot of it, but we still had a remaining balance, and I didn't want my family to go into debt for that. So I went back to work at Walmart to help pay off that surgery and to just help take some financial burden off of my husband. But with that, it caused a lot of other issues. So Jared would come home from work, I would go to work, and then he had to do dinner and bedtime. And mind you, my husband was getting up at 3:30 in the morning to go to work. And then I wasn't getting home till 10, and then I was getting up at 6 to get all of the kids up and ready because 2 of our kids were going to a charter school. And it was just horrible. Like, we were both grumpy. We both weren't communicating. My husband hated his job. I didn't hate my job, but I hated my home life because my husband was grumpy. My kids, we weren't enjoying them. It was just a lot. It was a lot, you guys. It was just not a fun time. And Jared and I were just struggling really bad with lack of communication, and yeah, it wasn't good. So then, skip forward, we had the flood, and then I went into my surgery. Well, then I was home, and then Jared took his vacation during my surgery, so we were both home, and we were able to spend time together and communicate. And really what it boiled down to is my husband hated his job. He didn't like me working. He definitely prefers more traditional roles, and I just told him, your happiness means so much more to me, and I am totally okay with being a stay-at-home mom and wife and tending to the house. We just have to have a good enough income. And so we sat down with our bills and we figured it out. And I told him, like, communication is key, and your happiness, our children's happiness, my happiness, that's more important than money ever. So we worked it out, and he switched jobs and he went to a lot less stressful job. And actually today, as I am filming this, not filming it, but doing the voiceover for it, he started his first day at his new job. Congratulations, honey. Not that he'll see this. I don't think he watches my YouTube videos, but yeah, so that was a really big thing. We had to make some really big pivots and have some really hard conversations, and it's not always easy. Looking back though, God prepared us through all of those hardships for what was to come. During the flood, let me back up just a little bit more. Right before the flood, I was griping so much about my house. Like, oh my gosh, like all of this housework and just all of the things, because mind you, while Jared was at work, I was home and grumpy and cleaning up the messes from the night before because I wasn't home, and I was just grumbling and just not serving my home with any joy. I wasn't happy about being home. I wasn't happy about anything. And I did not appreciate what I had at all. So then the flood happens and I have no kitchen. And let me tell you, I appreciate my home so much now. I appreciate it. Like, unconditionally appreciate it. So sometimes God prepares us with hardships to give us a grateful heart, and just to help us get ready for our next season of like what's yet to come. You never know what's being prepared. So little did I know that during all of that time, he was preparing me to be more of a traditional wife and mother, and really shift my relationship with my husband and mold me into a more godly woman even. So little did I know that through that hard season, big, beautiful things were actually happening, even though I felt like I was treading the water, barely keeping my head above and barely able to take a breath. So sometimes we just have to know that during those hard times, when we have to make those pivots and turns, leaning into the Lord and really just trusting in him that he has a bigger and better plan for us, just really holding on to that is gonna help so much. And so just know, if you're going through a hard time, that it will get better. Oh my gosh, as I'm watching that clip, my little daughter, me putting lip gloss on her, I had never done that before, but she just like was very intrigued with my lip gloss. Sorry, I just got sidetracked watching that clip, but she's just so precious. And that's another thing, is I have a daughter now, and I know, like, I don't want to sound like too gender whatever. I don't even know. You know what? I don't even care. But I know that my daughter's looking at me, and I don't want her to think that it's okay to not be feminine and things like that. Like, I want her to be a feminine little girl. I want her to know that it's okay to want to be a mama, because that was my dream, and to be home, that it's perfectly acceptable and fine, and that she doesn't have to work, and that she could raise a family. So with that, I am officially a stay-at-home mom again, a stay-at-home wife. I am just going to pour into my family. My husband's job is Monday through Friday now. We're going to be able to get back into church together. We're going to be able to really focus on our family, and I'm excited to share that with all of you. I'm excited to share me reclaiming my house and my home, sharing sweet little homemaking touches, sharing different food, which is actually coming up. I'm gonna make some pulled pork. Now, I batch cook, so that pulled pork was served one way, which you'll see it's just like mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts. And then I served it the next night as pulled pork sandwiches, and then the next time I made it into a soup. So that's kind of how we cook because we are a large family. I try to batch cook a lot of meat and turn it into 2 or 3 different dinners. And my family usually doesn't mind. Some of my kids will grumble, but not too bad, as long as it's pretty different meals. And these 3 dinners happen to be very different. So definitely give this recipe a try. Start it off the way it is, like with the brown gravy mix and the chicken bouillon powder and all the other seasonings. You want to keep it more of like Italian and garlicky, and then serve it with just some more hearty vegetables and like mashed potatoes or garlic bread or something. And then the next night, put barbecue sauce and shred it, and then you have a whole nother dinner. Put some coleslaw and make sliders. It's just a really good dinner for pulled pork sandwiches. And then you could turn it, though, if you have more leftovers, you can turn it into a soup like I did, which you don't see any of that in the video. But then the third night I ended up making a soup, and I added some leftover turkey that we had. So we did turkey and pork soup, which it was delicious. And I actually think I have a little bit of footage for that recipe coming up in a future video. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I just pray that God can move in all of your hearts. Oh, my sweet babies. I swear, them at the dinner table, that was so precious. And just know that God is preparing you for bigger and better things. And for me, being prepared to be a more submissive wife, and I know that that is such a horrible thing to some people, but for me, being submissive, it's not hard to be submissive when you have a good husband. It's not hard to honor and respect your husband if you have a good husband. And that's my message for today. Listen to your husbands, honor your husbands, and love them and your family. Bye, guys.